I think we had a really great meeting, and we're very proud of the party. We like our leader. We like everybody really in the room. I don't like a few people, but that's okay. I think you know who they are. But I'll give you that information someday. But for the most part, we have a really well-unified party. And I said it very strongly. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're the most powerful. We're the smartest. We're the most respected. 2 years ago, we were a laughingstock all over the world. We had a terrible group of people representing us. Every leader, I just left G7, every leader, and we had a lot of people in addition to G7, as you know, came. Everyone said, what we've done in a year and a half is a miracle. We have the hottest country in the world, and we want to keep it that way. We have more factories being built right now than we have at any point, at any time in the history of our country. And all of those factories are opening up soon. It's all jobs. And our job numbers are incredible anyway. I see that oil just broke the $70 number. Who would have thought that was going to happen? And that's during a war. And Iran is being very nice. They're agreeing to everything that I want. And they have to. Otherwise, we just go back and do what we have to do. Thank you very much.
All right, President Trump just wrapping up his lunch with Senate Republicans only hours after canceling a signing of a bipartisan housing affordability bill, saying he will not do so until Congress passes the Save America Act. Not all Republicans are happy about that decision. We can tell you that he was just met with applause as he walked into that meeting this afternoon. The president's brief with his comments here on the outside here, touching on Iran and jobs numbers before departing for the White House. I want to bring in Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Tsirkin. Some of this we've heard from the president before, that it is the hottest country in the world, that he is creating jobs, pointing to oil prices that have fallen after they spiked because of his war with Iran. What are your takeaways here?
Well, in addition to that, Christine, I thought that was very interesting. Obviously, the president, as we heard from him entering the lunchroom, wants to tout that, and he wants to do so in spite of the Republicans who joined Democrats in voting to rein in his war powers, essentially, rein in his future military action in Iran. He made it very clear that he was unhappy with some people in that room. You can guess who those people are based on the votes. Senator Bill Cassidy, Senator Lisa Murkowski, Senator McConnell, Senator Tom Tillis. And of course, as well, when we tried to shout questions to him about the housing bill, whether he's signing that, my question to him going in was whether he supports Leader Thune. He sort of answered it just now by standing up there with his leadership team. Behind him, Steve Witkoff, I thought, notable that was there. He was instrumental in negotiating that Iran deal. And also Doug Burgum, who's the Interior Secretary. But President Trump said that he is very proud of his leadership team. Leader Thune standing right next to him. There were some questions about that, given Leader Thune's insistence, and he's right about this, that there aren't the votes within the Senate Republican conference. You see the shouting behind me as senators are going to vote now from the lunch, that there aren't the votes, Christine, to pass that SAVE Act, that election security bill that the president has been pushing, and in some ways suggesting that if the Republicans do lose in November, that it would be because of those Republicans who didn't vote for the SAVE Act. Now the president linking that item and the housing bill, he's linked it with other things in the past, the FISA key spy surveillance that the U.S. spies used to surveil foreigners not on American soil. That at one point was tied to the SAVE Act. It didn't work. Government funding, immigration money, just a whole host of issues that they've tried to tie to this, and it has not worked. I'm told by somebody who was in that room that the president got into a little bit of a back and forth with some of those senators I mentioned, most notably Senator Bill Cassidy. He's clearly angry at them, the president is, for going against him, particularly at this moment with Iran. But as you heard him say here, really proud of those oil prices coming down. Gas has been a major vulnerability for him. The price of gas, as you know well and have covered. And so that's what he wants to talk about and not anything else. Christine?
All right.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.